I've heard people say, what's the worst that could happen if you just mind your own business for a couple weeks? Well, here's my answer. You come home and your entire lake is wearing a brand new fence like cheap jewelry. Someone's club logo is burning bright on your dock, and there's a dude in a security uniform telling you to get off your own land. All that, and I was only gone 10 days. 10 days, that's it. Goes to show you leave the wolves in charge of the chicken coop for a hot minute, and next thing you know, you're the one getting chased off your own porch. I still remember the exact moment I realized something was wrong. I'd been out on a forestry survey gig. Nothing fancy, just a routine stint, hiking the Blue Ridge trails and scribbling notes about runoff moss. Whatever. No signal, no distractions. I came back feeling lighter than I'd felt in months. But as I took that turn off the gravel road aiming for my spot by the water, I slammed the brakes so hard the truck groaned. Right where my old footpath wound down to the dock, there it was a shiny metallic fence, the kind you'd see circling a prison yard, only cleaner. Every 20 feet or so, there's a sign screaming private HOA, members only, like it's the world's lamest secret club. Then I see the banner stretched tight across a new pergola, also not mine. Lakeview Meadows Club access. Membership required. Now, I don't know about you, but when you're looking at your own land and someone's put up a velvet rope, there's a split second you actually question your sanity. For a second, I wondered if I'd pulled off at the wrong lake. But no, the sun caught on that fresh metal. The gravel crunched just the same under my boots, and the pine needles had that same sharp tang in the air. I was home all right. And then there he was, a security guy probably still in his 20s. Oakley's glued to his face, a badge that read Community Safety Officer, like that meant anything out here. He comes at me with this handout, herding me back like I'm some lost sheep. Sir, this area is restricted. Members only. The way he said it, like I was the one out of place. You'll need to leave the premises. That's the word he used, premises. Like my lake was now a warehouse floor. So I look him dead in the eye. Premises. You mean this lake? Correct. He nods. Lake and surrounding beach zone are now HOA recreation space. Do you live in Lakeview Meadows? He even said it slow, like maybe I'm not quite sharp enough to understand. I blink. No. I own this land. I own the lake. You're standing on my goddamn shoreline. All I got in return was a smirk he definitely practiced in the mirror. Sir, just doing my job. You can bring it up with the association, but I can't allow non-members onto the property. It was like talking to a traffic cone. That's when I noticed the benches I'd sanded down and painted last spring, now a nice shade of HOA, approved white and teal, my hand-carved private property sign, gone. The dock's still there, but now it's got the club's logo literally burned into the wood like they were branding cattle. I could feel my ears go hot. So I just turned around, got back in my truck, and took the long way to the cabin. No way I was going to let that rent-a-cop see me lose it. I parked behind the shed, crept down to the water on the south side, and there it was. The fence running the whole length of the North Shore, straight through the sand filtration channel I'd built for the bluegill habitat, now buried under concrete and some tacky sun shelter. That little patch used to be perfect for the fish. Gone. Just like that. I don't remember pulling out my phone, but there I was, snapping pictures, wide, close up every sign, every bolt. I called the county sheriff thinking, there's got to be a law against this. Maybe a little justice left in the world. 2 hours later, Deputy Rivers pulls up lanky, polite, but you could see in his eyes he'd rather be anywhere else. He listens, takes his own pictures, nods, and finally lets out this sigh that tells me what's coming isn't good. Looks like a boundary dispute civil matter. Can't do much unless there's vandalism or violence. I stood there, arms crossed, feeling the world tip sideways. This is my land. They told me to leave. He nods. Without a court order, my hands are tied. If there's an easement or some county filing, it's got to go through the courts. Then he gives me his card just in case. Like that's going to do much. When he left, I stood there for a while listening to the lake lap against the dock. My dock wondering how it was possible to be robbed with paperwork instead of a gun. But if they thought I'd just disappear, they'd pick the wrong neighbor to mess with. Next morning, before the county office even flipped the open sign, I was waiting at the door. My eyes were bloodshot from reading deeds and old survey maps all night, but I wasn't about to blink now. The clerk on duty, woman named Dee, All Business listens to my story, pulls out a thick folder for my parcel, and starts flipping through. She finds the new map filed just 3 weeks ago and slides it over. Sure enough, some dotted line cuts across my land labeled Lakeview Meadows HOA Access Easement filed July 1991. I stared at it like it might catch fire. 1991. That's impossible. I say, the guy who supposedly signed this was dead by '89, and the land wasn't even private until 2003. D just shrugs. Someone filed it. Looks fraudulent, but you'll have to fight it in court. She prints me copies certified just in case, and I walk out with a folder of Poison Heart pounding so hard I could feel it in my teeth. Next stop, my attorney. Harrison's old school runs on black coffee and spite the kind of guy who calls a spade a damn shovel. He takes one look at the paperwork and snorts. This isn't even good forgery. Wrong paper, wrong seal, and no one in '91 was using Times New Roman. He flips through eyes me over his glasses. You want to play hardball? I want my lake back. He grins. Good answer. Good. By that afternoon, we'd filed for an injunction motion after motion. Every bit of evidence I had, plus witness statements from D and a local historian who'd worked at the Forestry Service. It felt like the tide was turning, until I got home and found a pile of HOA newsletters dumped at my mailbox, one with my own lake on the front page. Thank you, HOA board, for securing our waterfront. There's my bench in the photo, my chimney in the background, and a caption underneath about a decades-old agreement finally enforced. They weren't just lying, they were rewriting the whole damn story. Didn't even have time to finish my coffee the next morning before there's a knock at the cabin door. Deputy, plus a guy in a suit blue blazer folder in hand. You've been served. Civil complaint from the HOA, unlawful entry, property damage, verbal threats. On my own lake. I called Harrison, read him the whole thing. He nearly choked. They're trying to bury you and paperwork stall you while their fake easement holds. Don't take the bait. Here's the thing, though. I'm not the kind of guy who runs at the first sign of a fight. That night, I kayaked out to check the fish netting routine stuff, nothing to do with their damn fence. Next thing I know, I'm being accused of aggressive trespass threats, even damaging the gate, which for the record I never touched. Apparently just being near my own shoreline counts as violence now. That's when they kicked it up a notch. County inspector shows up, says there's been a code complaint, illegal shed, improper erosion control, you name it. I nearly laughed. Everything on my land was permitted, most of it paid for by state grants. The inspector saw that too. But he warned me, this probably isn't the last time. They were throwing everything at me hoping I'd break. Only I don't break. I document. I started backing up every deed, every photo, every test result to the cloud. Made videos walking the property time-stamped. Reached out to everyone I knew, natural resources folks, lawyers, even a friend at the state attorney's office. Quiet but thorough. If they wanted a war, I'd give them a paper trail long enough to choke on. After a week buried in records, I found the break I needed. Old forestry contact Wayne retired, but sharp looks at the fake easement and laughs. Nope. I was there. No access was ever granted, not in '91, not ever. The feds owned it till '93. He writes a sworn affidavit, even pulls the transfer records to prove it. That was the crack in their armor. But while I was busy with paper, the lake itself was changing. Water looked off. I tested every month, pH, nitrate clarity, and June's vial was cloudier. Sent samples to a lab, came back with elevated nitrates, traces of fertilizer, and way too much urea. Translation. Too many people, too much pollution, and somebody was pumping water in and out without a permit. Turns out the HOA had buried a PVC pump straight into the shoreline, sucking water for their showers, probably dumping it back dirty. Totally illegal. Called up an environmental attorney, showed her the test results, and within a week we'd filed a complaint. Inspectors showed up, took samples, and by that afternoon slapped the HOA with a stop-use order, no swimming, no pumps, no fun until further notice. And just when I thought things might quiet down, someone tries to cut my gate lock at night, caught on my trail cam. Clear as day. Guess who Karen in head-to-toe athleisure bolt cutters in hand? The HOA president herself. If I hadn't been so mad, I might have been impressed. Now I was done playing defense. Harrison and Nayan, my two lawyers, filed a full-blown countersuit. 4 counts: unlawful enclosure fraud, property destruction, and illegal contamination. filed for an injunction to rip out every unauthorized post, every logo, every bolt. Even added the trail cam photo of Karen for good measure. And wouldn't you know it, once the court filings landed, the HOA board started coming apart. Residents started emailing, half blaming me for ruining summer, the other half demanding answers from their board. The best email: "You need to stop punishing the whole neighborhood for a misunderstanding." Right. Like forging documents and suing me was just a little oopsie. But the real twist came when the state opened a criminal case. Turns out Karen's handiwork with the county clerk wasn't a first offense. They uncovered a pattern of creative paperwork, and the clerk, when questioned, spilled everything: late-night document swaps, cash under the table, the whole dirty circus. Karen. She vanished for 3 days, then turned herself in smiling for her mugshot like she'd just won a raffle. I'll admit seeing her in cuffs felt good, but nothing topped the day the judge handed down the ruling. I walked the perimeter with a photographer, bolt cutters in hand, court order in my pocket. Deputies behind me, a work crew ready to rip out every trace of the fake club. The fence came down in minutes. Pergola gone. Dock logo sanded clean. I even found their lake club event schedule stuffed under a bench. Turns out they'd planned yoga classes, barbecues, all on my dime. The court awarded me damages, real ones. Ordered the HOA to pay for cleanup, legal fees, even ecological restoration. Karen denied bail. The clerk lost his job, pension, everything. The new HOA administrator, court-appointed, rewrote the bylaws from scratch. No more talk of shared amenities, no more fake maps. My lake was back and for good this time. You know what? That first morning, standing at the edge of the water, all I heard was wind in the trees and birds on the bank. No fences, no banners, no angry voices, just peace, the kind you only miss after it's been stolen. So yeah, people ask me what I learned. I tell them, never assume silence means respect. Sometimes it just means someone's plotting and you better be ready to fight for what's yours. Now let me ask you, where's the line for you? What would you do if someone tried to take what you've worked your whole life to build? Is there such a thing as going too far when you're just defending what's right? I'm curious. Tell me your story. Have you ever stood your ground and watched justice finally show up? I want to hear about it.